Hi everyone, have you ever wondered how to put a really professional decorative edge on the front of your shelves? Well, I'm putting shelves today in the cupboard that I recently refurbished, and in today's video I'm going to show you exactly how to do it. This is 25mm exterior ply that I bought from my local timber merchants, and look, the grain is a complete mess. You would not want to have this on show. The thing about this ply is it's not pretty, but it's incredibly strong, which is why I'm using it for these shelves, because I want to put lots of files and things in this cupboard. So when you've got ply like this, or indeed MDF, whether that's 18mm MDF or 25mm MDF, on which there is so much debate on YouTube, and I've done videos on this, the best way to seal and paint MDF edges. Wouldn't it be better if you were to put a pine strip on the edge of the shelf, whether it's ply or MDF, and route a lovely decorative edge? Well, in today's video I'm going to show you just how to do this. And the reason I thought about this is because I was on site recently, my day job fitting curtains and blinds, and in one place recently I saw some shelves that a very high-end bespoke joinery company was making, and they're coming up on the screen now, and I looked at this edge and I thought, oh my god, that's how you do it. So I thought, if they can do it, so can I. So I'm going up to the garage now to take a look at what we're going to use for today's video. I've never done this before, but how difficult can it be? I'm going to measure on this bit of timber, which is a bit of 6'1". I'm going to measure the width, slightly oversized, of my shelf fronts, and then taking an offcut of the shelf itself. I want to use, I don't want any knots. I'm going to cut effectively 3 shelf fronts out of this piece of timber, like that. Trickiest thing here, I'm doing this with my circular saw, and I need to set the fence on my circular saw so that it cuts a really accurate slither of pine that more or less represents the thickness of the shelf, so I don't have to do too much trimming off. So what I've done is, by trial and error, I made a few runs on this old piece of wood. I think that's as close as I can dare go, and then I'll just have to do a little bit of planing once the front piece is actually glued to the shelf. So with that set up, I can now clamp the bit of wood down to my workbench and start the cuts. With my front trims cut, now it's just a question of marking the location of my biscuits, because I'm going to biscuit joint the front trim to the actual shaft itself. And finally I'm going to use this beast of a router to cut my biscuit joints. I've got to say, it's too heavy, it's 1/2 inch length router, too heavy really for biscuit joints. And if any of you out there are interested in doing biscuit joints as a consequence of watching this video or other videos, get yourself a biscuit jointer. I'll post a link at the end in the description. But you can get really good, cheap, good value biscuit jointers from the likes of Screwfix. Finally, fun bit, gluing the whole thing together. To do this I'm using the wedge clamp that you may have seen in last week's video. I've also added a couple of my 2 Irwin quick grip clamps as well for good measure. I think I'm going to have to glue these shelves individually because I've only got 2 clamps like this. It's 24 hours since I glued the pine strips to the front. Here we go. Now the job I've got to do is plane this completely flush. Now this could be quite a problematic thing to do unless you have one of these lovely little tools, block planes. You might have seen from my recent video just what these little things are capable of doing, and I'm going to put it to work now on the edge of the shelf. I've just sharpened this morning, so it's razor sharp, and I don't know whether you can see there, I haven't got a great amount of it sticking out, but I've set it to a pretty good setting. I've been experimenting for a couple of minutes. You can use these single or double or two-handed, but I find it you get slightly more control two-handed. Almost gone too far there. The veneer on this exterior ply isn't particularly thick, so I've got to be just a little bit careful. And there we have it. That is completely flush now, and I'm really happy with that join. Time to do the other side. If you haven't already got some of these clamps, I really recommend them. I don't know what I'd do without them. I bought them a few months ago from Axminster. I'll post a link in the description at the end of the video. This edge has obviously got to be trimmed off, but I've got to say, I'm really pleased with that join. It's completely seamless. As Irwin floorboards saw, it's a pretty crucial part of my toolkit. Tiny little teeth on it enable you to cut off thin slithers like that. Okay everyone, we're now at the business end of the video, and this is the bit I'm genuinely quite excited about. I bought this recently. Got to give a shout out to Peter Millard for this. I was watching one of his videos where he pointed out there's a company out there called Wielden Tools, and I got this lovely 1/2 inch shank router bit. I think it's called a beading large. I've never used anything like this before to create a decorative profile, but I'm going to give it a go, and I'm looking forward to seeing how we get on. Okay, so it's back to my 1/2 inch shank router again. So it's a bit of a heavy, unwieldy tool. When I bought it 10-15 years ago, I was quite intimidated by it, I suppose you'd say. But as the years have gone on, I've used it for more and more things, like for example rounding off skirting boards, putting a rounded edge on the folding desk that you might have seen in my last video. And it is a tool that DIYers can use, so don't feel too intimidated by it. And you can get a 1/4 inch shank router as well, which is a much lighter tool, and it might be more accessible as your sort of entry into routers. And what I am going to do before I start is just experiment on another piece of wood just to make sure I've got it right. Just rotate it around. Clearly it's not plugged in at the moment. Right, I'm going to try that. Lock that off. Oh, look at this, people. It's a tiny, tiny bit too low. You can see my first bit here where the router was just a little bit too low. It's a tiny little, I don't know where you can see that, it's like a sort of secondary step there. And this is the one I've just adjusted. Look at that, my friends, isn't that great? Just look at this, my friends. How impressive is that? I'm so pleased. Just got 2 more of these to do now, and then we'll put them into the wardrobe and see how it's looking. that's it everyone, the shelves are in place. And that's pretty much the end for this cupboard. I may just do one more video showing you what shelf supports I use to fix these shelves in place. That might be coming up next weekend. So I hope you found today's video useful and that it gives you confidence that you could create this professional finish on the front edge of your shelves as well. If you liked today's video, please click on the like button below. And if you're new to my channel, I'd love to have you subscribe. You can do that by clicking on the link here, and be sure to click the bell notification icon when you subscribe so that you get updated when I post each video. Thanks everyone, see you soon.